improvers. Justin Winstead, the improver coach, coming to you. I hope you're doing fantastic and that you're about to get a little bit better, because I've got some encouraging and some enlightening words to share with you that should help you to be a better leader, better business owner, manager, influencer, just a better human being. Because there's a problem that we are facing right now, at least in our Western culture and our society, which is this unrealistic expectation to live up to these unreasonable ideals, this idea of a perfect life where you're expected to know it all and be it all and see it all, and you're supposed to go to all the best places and wear all the best things, and you're supposed to just have everything put together, and that anything that indicates that you're not perfect or that you're not exactly the way people expect you to be, then it makes you broken or it makes you messed up or lesser than. And guys, that stuff is junk. It is not the truth at all. All of us have flaws. All of us have mistakes. None of us on this planet are absolutely perfect. I think we should strive for excellence, and we should hope to be what the scripture says on the Christian Bible. It talks about being above reproach or beyond rebuke. I think striving to live a life where people don't look at you and say, see, that's your character flaw, or see, that's the part where you do people wrong, or you know what, I like you, but the fact that you treat people this way. I think we should try to strive to not have people be able to look at us and point out issues of our character and morals. So I think in that sense, yeah, strive to be the very best that you can be. But when it comes to like what you wear and what you drive and like where you go to, to vacation or things like that, you can't live up to everybody else's ideals. That's just impossible to do, especially as we're increasingly connected and diverse. There's too many viewpoints out there. You're never going to please all the people all the time. In fact, I once heard it said that if you want to please everybody, go sell ice cream. But the fact is, even if you go to sell ice cream, there's some people that's going to be offended by the brand that you represent, or they don't like the flavors that you offer, or they're gluten-free or lactose intolerant, and they've got all these things, and you just make them unhappy as well. And so you're never going to please all the people, even if you're doing that. So what do you do? Well, what I want to challenge you to do is to be the most authentic version of who you were created to be. The most authentic version of who you were created to be, and just let that be. And part of that means you got to open yourself up to vulnerability, being vulnerable to others. You got to be willing to admit your mistakes. You got to be willing to confess flaws. You got to be willing to expose yourself on some of the things that maybe have blemishes on that. Because as long as you try to put up this facade that everything is perfect and you've got it all together, you're always going to have all these other struggles as a result. Either way, you're going to experience some pain. You're going to experience pain if you try to hide it, and you're going to experience pain if you have to get uncomfortable and share it. But the difference is one pain holds you back, whereas another pain pushes you forward. It'll make you better. It'll help you to improve. And so some of you as leaders, where this comes into play in a practical sense, is you have to be willing to tell your team, I dropped the ball on that project. The reason we didn't meet our deadline, we didn't make our goal, is because of me. I apologize. I'm sorry, because here's what I did. Take ownership. I love Jocko Willink in his book about extreme ownership. You got to be willing to take it. The buck stops with you. So one way you can be authentic and be vulnerable is by taking ownership and being willing to apologize. You can also, as a leader, be willing to admit a flaw or a struggle that you have. Now, you got to be careful about this. You don't want to glorify the things that you don't do well, and you definitely don't want to justify those things by saying, well, I'm just not really good at that thing. That's not what I'm meaning. I'm meaning being able to say, you know what, I really struggle in this particular area, or you know what, this is something that I'm growing in, and I'm going to be diligent about strengthening that skill or adjusting that part of my character that causes this issue to come up. You have to be willing to work on yourself and let other people know that you don't have it all together too. At the end of the day, we're all a mess. We're all a work in progress. We all are like the roads around where we live, but they're always under construction. Well, you know what? That's us too. We're always under construction and being worked on. So don't be afraid to admit whenever you're doing something. Recently, I was in a church and I was singing a song, and I just remember stopping mid-song and saying, I can't sing this anymore. I don't believe this song. In my mind I do, but in my heart I don't. And I don't don't really live this out. And the song was something to the effect of, this is how I fight my battles. And the person, the band leading the song was saying, I fight my battles by praying about them and by seeking God's guidance and his strength and his protection and provision in that. But as I was singing, I was like, I'm lying if I sing this song, because that's not how I fight my battles. The way I fight my battles a lot of times is I try to roll up my sleeves and get to work, do it in my own power. I try to go online and find an answer. I call up a few friends and say, hey, do you guys know how to fix this? I don't seek the guidance of the Father like I should. And so that's an area where for me, I had to just get really honest and stop singing the song. But also I shared that with some people and say, you know what, I don't do this well. And they were like, man, we thought you kind of try to present this thing where you try to do everything well. And sometimes maybe I do try to present that, but it's not the truth. The truth is I stumble and fall all the time. And I got to be willing to admit that. I got to be willing to be vulnerable to my kids, to my wife, to my team. I got to be willing to share that. Also, I can't be blaming others for things and trying to justify and get out of it. You know, if I miss the appointment, I've got to say, you know what? I missed it because I just got caught up in what I was doing and didn't pay attention to the time. And that was bad self-discipline. Or I missed it because I didn't plan well and I didn't get it onto my schedule like I thought I did. I gave you my word without actually putting it into my calendar. I've got to own that and not try to excuse or justify it. So if you want to be an improver today, one of the things that you can do is being willing to admit your mistakes, accept the blame, let the buck stop with you, take responsibility. And by doing that, you actually put yourself in a position to give other people permission to do that as well. But you put yourself in a position of greater influence because people see you as authentic. And what people desire more than anything is an authentic leader. Guess what? Chat GPT and artificial intelligence and all this, they're coming up with the polished answers. They're coming up with like what should be said. And so you're going to need less and less of the person who's got it all together and, you know, meeting all the metrics and checking all the boxes. What people really want is they want somebody who's real with them. They want somebody who speaks from the heart, who has conviction, who is being genuine with them and who they can really trust. The next generation of leaders is going to be willing to admit what is good and what can get better in their life while also taking responsibility for when they drop the ball and what they can do to avoid that in the future. Hope this is encouraging to you and challenging to you. I'm Justin Winstead, the Improver Coach, and I will see you on the next video.